Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I was the inspiration for The Ancient Enemy.
And I'm Gary. And today we're going to review and discuss Phantoms, which came out in 1998. Ian, why don't you give us the synopsis for Phantoms?
Well, the story follows two sisters returning to the town of Snowfield. The sisters, played by Joanna and Rose McGowan, are planning on staying there for a month, as the older sister is the local doctor and she's bringing her younger sister away from the city of Los Angeles to get her away from crime and violence. Once they turn up into the town, they feel something strange is going on when there are no townspeople at all, and they come across a few dead bodies. They meet up with a few local sheriffs as well and realize that something evil and ancient is living underneath the town.
What are you doing? All right, what the hell's going on here?
I'm just going to apologize right now because of my language for this film. I remember watching this film back in 1998, and for me, that year was a good year. I got Phantoms, and I got to watch The Undertaker throw mankind off the top of the Hell in a Cell, so it was a pretty good year. And Silent Hill is a title that really sends a shiver up a lot of people's spines, because it would come out a year after this film. But for me, the beginning of Phantoms is like Silent Hill the movie. You know, we're watching these two sisters drive to this small mountain town. There's no fog or ash or weird stuff like that, but it's just so creepy. They end up just driving into the town. The whole townspeople are just gone, which is, fucking weird at first. Then they come across a few dead bodies in weird poses and, glassy eyes and things like that. The town, I love that shadow that seems to go over the town and turn night to day in like instants. And then you go round and they find decapitated heads in an oven.
I love the air of mystery that builds up in the film, because as an audience member, you're not privy to any extra information that the characters aren't. As the characters figure things out, you figure things out.
Yeah.
And you soon realise that one of the deputies is a little bit off-balanced.
Oh, yeah, Stu, played by Lee Schreiber.
Chief.
He is so awesome.
He is awesome, but there's the scene when they've grouped together and they're walking around the house and he's in there and there's like a female body on the bed.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he took his gloves off.
He takes his gloves off, and I've seen this film many times, and I always thought she was an old lady that had died. But watching this for the review, I realised that actually she's a young girl. And whatever has killed her has kind of made her body melt and sag a bit. So, yeah, Stu's character is on the edge and has some kind of weird sexual frustration that he really, really needs to get out of, or at least get control of.
You won't tell me what happened here?
Because, he takes his gloves off and he starts to feel this
body.
dead body's thigh.
And of course he's interrupted by Ben Affleck's character, who kind of lets him off, really, but I guess considering the situation that they're in,
Yeah, that's it. You're needing all the help you can, because you're trying to investigate this thing. So even the deputy who's slightly on edge is okay as long as you're behind him and he's not behind you. I love the way that it develops. The fact that, it's all creepy following these two girls at the start. Then they run into the police officers and they go to the hotel. Now, going to the hotel is actually one of my favourite scenes. And like I said, just like Silent Hill, they go outside into the streets and the whole town is pitch black. There's, the lights on, the street lamps. And then the sirens start. and then the sirens stop, the lights will cut out, and then you get that one little lamp on the hotel. And like I said, just like Silent Hill, I'm like, we have to go there.
They're being called there by something, I guess. And then, you know, the telephone. The telephone goes, and they are getting some pretty strange sounds coming from it.
Yeah.
It's pretty much unintelligible, and as an audience member, you're like, is it a ghost? Is it a phantasm?
Yeah.
Is it an alien? Is it a thing?
What is it? And I talking about the phone sequences, I like the sequence where it calls the police station and it's trying to talk, and I tried to really listen to it, and I think I picked out like a 2 or 3 words in it, something like gospel or flight.
Who are you?
And for me, that is the ancient enemy pissed off that nobody knows what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's how do you not know what I am? I've been around for centuries and wiped out thousands of people, and you're still wondering what I am.
This guy's got an edge.
This thing purposely does everything it does. I mean,
but the thing is, it sort of has the ability to knock out the lights, to play around with the phones, and destroy car engines.
Yeah.
How does it do that?
Well, coming from the book by Dean Koontz, this ancient enemy can shapeshift.
Yeah.
It can actually take on the form of things that it is consumed, and it's like a weird, ghostly, larger version of the thing. So the whole town it has consumed. Now, which I mean, she said it was like 400 people or 4,000 people in the summer. So we'll go with the fact that it was in the winter and it's like 400 people. Now, it's absorbed 400 people. And it uses the strength of 400 people that it is consumed, and plus multiple thousands of people it's consumed over the centuries to crush a car engine.
Looks like it's been crushed in a hydraulic press.
They whilst they're in the hotel, they discover a room that's been locked from the inside.
Yeah.
Has no windows or other possible exits, and there's lipstick scrawlings on the mirror which says Timothy Flight. And so they're like, is that the person who's killed all these people?
Yeah.
They're trying to figure it out. They're trying to wrap their brain around it. In the meantime, they're wandering around the hotel, and they start to find collections of remains.
Undigested remains.
That's pretty gross, considering that there was teeth and pacemakers and watches. And it's a pretty gross collection.
It plays with your imagination of how this thing managed to absorb all the people without really destroying any of the buildings or any of the rooms or anything like that. It seemed to literally just go in, take them, and then... Yeah, I mean, like that scene with all the pacemakers and stuff. They'd already gone in that room, and the room was empty. And then when they left the room, they hear the jingle of the noise, go back, and now this thing has dropped this. So it has the power to just manifest these things out of nothing. So is it in the air already? Is it in the ground? What the? And this is where we get Peter O'Toole, and I love Peter O'Toole. He's just a classic British actor, you know, he's awesome with whatever he does. But his Timothy Flight character kind of really cements this film for me. I mean, if he hadn't been in it, it would have literally been Ben Affleck and Rose McGowan running around destroying some big evil thing. And yeah, who wants to see that? You want to see a researcher come in and go, I've been studying this thing for years, and it is one tough motherfucker.
Convincing the world fairly to consider a new idea takes patience, perseverance, and a willingness to fight the good fight in any media forum one can find.
Well, which is why big-time paleobiologists like yourself works here.
No, I need the money.
The conversation he has with the general, you know, the army turns up. Oh, yes, the army's turned up. We're going to kick ass and we're going to save the day. And he's explaining to the general, Timothy Flight, and he's like, look, guns are not going to work against this thing. This thing has been around for eons. And we haven't even studied it, so we don't even think we can actually destroy it. And the general's like, don't worry. We've got armed men. We've got science teams. There's nothing that this thing can do to us.
What you're looking at here is our field lab. It's bacteriologically secure. This thing is armored to withstand point-blank mortar fire. No terrorist can take this thing out.
5 minutes later, they're all dead.
Order splits! What the hell is that? Get out of there. I want you to move your ass and get out of there now. No! Get out of there! Move it! Now! Ah!
You don't really get to see what happens to all of them, but for whatever reason, a lot of them are running around in the sewers.
Trying to tap in. A few of them are trying to tap into the phone lines. And this is what I mean. It turns out that something has damaged the phone lines and taken out the communications. That something would be the ancient enemy underneath the ground. But we also learn from Timothy Flight later on that whatever this thing is using the electrical cables and the telephone cables to kind of spy on the people. You know, I don't know how it works. It doesn't actually explain it, but it's using the wires all around the town to just spy and listen and watch whoever's going on.
So why couldn't the ancient evil just get in the internet and tell everyone who it is?
It's 1998. Do you remember what the internet was like in 1998?
Would have taken a long time.
It would have taken a long time. You know, that horrible noise that you ever heard of when you had the phone line? That was the ancient enemy trying to get you.
Maybe it got stuck in dial-up.
Going back, you know, we've brought the military in a little bit too early because one of the cooler sequences I wanted to talk about was Liev Schreiber's death.
Well, it's one of my favourite scenes is just before that happens when a moth-like creature appears outside the house.
Yeah.
And they unload 7 hells at that thing. They're firing pistols, shotguns. They fire everything. It's like an extended Predator sequence where they're just blasting everything and hit nothing. And then, of course, the Moth Creature does get in, and it's no tiny fucking moth.
No,
this thing has the strength to pick people up and launch them across the room.
Yeah, it's an awesome sequence. Like I said, they blast the crap out of this window, and then you watch Liev Schreiber walk over to the window like, I think we killed it, Sheriff. And then this thing comes in, lifts him off the floor, and consumes his face. Just let that settle in this small sequence while they're trying to kill it. It consumes the flesh off his face, his eyes, his tongue, his nose, and his brain, and then manages to fly off.
Kind of makes the bugs out of the mist look redundant now.
Yes. But it's like Rose McGowan says, it's like this thing purposely wanted that character. And I like to think that the ancient enemy it wants people to know about it. And so the only way people can know about it is by it leaving survivors to tell the story so that fear can spread. And so the people that it kills is intentional. It purposely takes them out because, well, you know, that person's no good. Like the first sheriff who gets lured outside by the noise, he just gets whisked away. He's gone. You know, you ain't ever going to see him again. It then realizes that Stu's the Stu character is slightly unhinged, and because the ancient enemy likes to shapeshift into forms, it knows that if it takes Stu's form, it can really send the willies into people, you know. So it takes him out, and that just leaves the 2 girls and Ben Affleck. And what this thing doesn't realize is that Ben Affleck's a bit of a badass. You know, you picked the wrong guy to take. You should have taken Ben Affleck first, and you could have consumed the world. But then bringing in the Timothy Flight character, you've now got 4 people, and they, it's like it's making its presence felt like, look, you either do what I tell you, or I just kill you all and wipe out the whole of mankind, because that's what I'm going to do. But I need you to go forth. Its ego is kind of getting the better of itself because it thinks it's unstoppable. And it is pretty unstoppable when it wipes out the army.
They don't really last that long, do they? They turn up, they secure the area, they go into the underground to set up the phone lines.
Yeah.
And before you know it, there's machine gun fire, there's loud screams, and then they're all gone.
Yeah.
And then you have, is it Copperfield?
Yeah.
Who has a pretty interesting sequence when he walks over, and you see this black oozy type thing sort of rip into his suit, fills up his mask, and then it sort of breaks out. You get a cut of him then, sort of with the broken visor. And I will say that him pulling the glass or the plastic piece out of his mouth, it does look gross as hell.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can also tell that it doesn't actually seem proportional to the bit that's missing.
Yeah.
The effect still works.
The effect still works. One of the sequences I always liked was you have an army man and a scientist. They go into one of the rooms and they find this guy dead on the bed, and they're looking around the room in the dark, and then they look back down at the guy, and the guy's gone, and he stood at the door and closes the door, and I'm like, should have shot him first. And then we get to the church dog sequence. The dog walks into the church, and you got one of the scientists like, come here, Pooch, and Flight's like, step away from the dog. And it's like the Thing all over again.
Totally like the Thing.
People are getting ooze in their face. They're just, it's mad action sequence.
I've got to say that sequence is probably the most memorable sequence in the film.
And I love the change of dynamic as well, where you have the 4 of them now in this armored truck, and the ancient enemy's like, you're going to write the gospel, you're going to tell people what I am, and then I'm going to come over and I'm going to consume the world. And Ben Affleck's like, this thing thinks it's evil. It thinks it's immortal, but it's made the mistake by leaving us alive, and that's where its ego has obviously got ahead of itself. If it wipes us out, it can do what it wants.
I like the idea, because they bring up the idea about these tapeworms that in order, they take these tapeworms and they've got to go one direction through a maze, and then the ones that figured out how to get through the maze, they chopped up and killed and fed to a different bunch of worms.
Yeah.
Those worms, after consuming them, gain the knowledge to know exactly which way to go.
Yeah.
That's the basis they have for this ancient evil.
Yeah.
So this ancient evil has consumed these people that are terrified and frightened of it, and have therefore believed it to be the devil itself.
Yep.
So it has now inherited the idea that it is Satan, that it is the devil, or it is
some
evil
kind of
inherited.
god. Yeah.
Or a god. Because perhaps people were praying, oh my god,
yeah,
before they were consumed. The ancient evil thinks it is omnipotent, so therefore it has this ego. So I guess consuming these people has given it the idea of technology, basically 20th century sort of understandings of things, which has enabled it to grow and become as powerful as it has, because the primitive people that it consumed before, it didn't.
Yeah, it didn't. It consumed them and it went straight back to sleep.
The idea is that the ancient evil it's not It's not space debris. It's
No.
not an alien creature that crash landed in a comet or anything like that. The idea, I guess, is that it always existed on the planet.
Yeah. But
Timothy Flight has the idea that it perhaps was the thing that wiped out the dinosaurs.
yeah.
And it's just, I love all of these ideas because that's what sparks your imagination going, and that's what, that's, I still sometimes wonder why the film is called Phantoms.
Because obviously the book was called Phantoms, and in the book the creature was able to manifest phantoms. To play on people, like the sequence where Ben Affleck comes up to the cupboard and he sees the little boy.
Yeah.
That's the phantom. Like when Rose McGowan is in the toilet and she sees Stu come back to life. That's another phantom. It manifests these things to scare people, I suppose. And we only call them phantoms because that's what we would consider them. And so obviously once it's consumed us, that's the idea it takes. But I love the twist of the science factor. Ben Affleck says, look, come on, Flight, you must know of a way to kill it. And Flight's like, I have no idea.
I don't even want to be here.
I don't even want to be here. And Ben Affleck's like, come on, this thing's ancient. It's got to have some kind of basis. And then when they look down to it, it has very fine connections to petroleum. And you notice this in some of the dead bodies that they kind of do autopsies on. That you got this black ooze coming out, and so it leaves me with the thing of, so all this stuff that we put in our cars is actually this ancient enemy. Ooh, no wonder it's pissed off, But then Flight's like, we've got this bacteria. It doesn't do anything to humans, but it's really harmful to this thing. And Ben Affleck's like, will it kill it? And Timothy Flight's like, maybe.
We need to find a way to get at the mother mass, and we need some kind of a delivery system for this stuff. But if we do that, will it kill it all?
Unless there's a nucleus, a small inner core that can tear loose from the mass and survive on its own.
I really just wanted you to say yes.
And Ben Affleck's like, I just wanted you to say yes. Just wanted you to say yes. My favourite scenes, like I said, I fucking love this film. I know two types of people in this world. I know people who have watched Phantoms and people who have not watched Phantoms. That's it. Those people who have not watched Phantoms are missing out. Those people who have watched Phantoms love it and probably recognise these sequences. The opening bit with the sisters driving into town. As a massive Silent Hill fan, this is just an awesome view of what they were trying to do with the game. It's all creepy. It's tense. You're trying to work out what the hell's going on. It gets even better with the fact of the moth turning up and eating Liev Schreiber's face. That was pretty awesome. I mean, the siren sequence with all the flashy lights always still freaks me out. The dog sequence in the church, as a massive Thing fan, you gotta love a dog that melts and starts consuming people. The dog sequence, which is following Ben Affleck as he's trying to get the stuff to destroy the ancient evil, is pretty awesome. Any of the scenes with Peter O'Toole, he's just awesome, especially when he's actually explaining all the stuff to you, and you sit there going, yeah, that makes sense. And my final sequence, when Liev Schreiber comes back to life, or undead, is a phantom or something, and he tries to attack the two young girls, and they blast him with their shotguns, and tentacles start coming out of his legs and pulling him along the floor.
Ouch!
You want to see something?
And then they stick the shotgun in his head's exploded, or they've blown his head off, and then his head becomes like a weird flower with a hand, and they stick the shotgun in and it exploded.
Fantastic creature effects on that. I have quite a few favourite scenes. I think you've just mentioned all of the most memorable ones. What I'll say in my recommendation, and also what ties in with my favourite scenes, is the first half of the film is totally different to the second half of the film.
Yeah.
The first half is really good at building up the atmosphere and the tension and the mystery of trying to figure out what's going on. Watching these characters stumbling around in the dark in this abandoned, this town that's been wiped out of all life, and you've got the telephones ringing in the background, the eerie sirens going off, these items just appearing, locked rooms with no one inside them. It just really builds up, and that for me is classic horror storytelling.
Yeah.
It also gets really, really exciting when the military and the science personnel turn up, because you're like, oh shit, there's like a totally different film now.
Yeah.
Because you have no idea what direction it's going to go in. And that's what I have to say, is that if you have read the book, the film is going to be disappointing for you, because there's so many scenes cut out, so many characters that have been cut out, and you already know where it's going. But, so I will say, in some respects, watching the film first is actually better, because you're going to get excited watching this film, because like I said, you have no idea which direction it's going to go in. I won't say go into the ending, but the ending is good. It has, there's a few cool action bits. There's a special effects bit which is okay still. However, I will say that the general ending of the film, personally, was just a little bit weak. But the ride through the film to the end, so good, even on repeat viewings, that I have to recommend Phantoms.
Yeah.
And as you've said, that there are some people that have not watched it, and if you look at the front cover for Phantoms, either on VHS, Blu-ray, DVD, it's shit. It's a really crap cover. It's so generic. You have the four of them on the front cover, and you're just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Check it out. It's worth watching, definitely.
Yeah. Phantoms. Affleck is the bomb in Phantoms.
Word, bitch. Phantom's like a motherfucker.
What's up now?
Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.
I fall to pieces each time I see you again.
If you people at this newspaper really know where Elvis is, we'd like to know.
What?
We've been looking for him for a long time.
Yes, sir. King sure is slippery.
Oh,